Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the channel. My name's Jared. Today we're going to be looking at these Luxmain lifts that I've purchased recently directly from China. These lifts are a copy of what I see from Max Jacks. So Max Jacks, a company, I'm not sure if they designed and developed these, but they're essentially like a low profile lift. Opens in this manner to fit under low profile cars, and it can easily be stored away compared to a conventional 2-post, 4-post lift that's bolted down to the ground. So these lifts are better suited towards people working in their garage that can't afford to have something permanently set up. Here in Australia, Max Jacks, they were previously sold through Costco and they were about $2,500 to $3,000 depending on the weight of the jack that you bought. I think they range from 1.5 to 2.5 ton. If you're a garage mechanic and you're going from using a hydraulic jack with jack stands to one of these lifts, $3,000 is a really big jump in investment just to save you a bit more time and convenience. So for me, when you look online, you can spend the same money and buy a 2-post hoist, or you can buy one of these jacks, which the 2-post hoist is a lot more efficient and better because you get a lot more height out of it compared to one of these jacks. So naturally, I like to save money. I'm sure a lot of other people like to as well. So I looked for some alternatives and actually found this Luxmain lift on TaoBao. If you don't know, it's eBay in China, and a lot of these sellers on eBay and Amazon, etc., they buy their stuff from TaoBao, which usually the manufacturers in China set up and sell through that program. So I bought the lifts directly from Luxmain in China, and we just messaged them and specified to put on an Australian plug and where it's going to be actually used. So it's 240 volt, not 110, say for the US as an example. And they obliged and did all that, no worries. I also purchased these extended lifting plates for longer vehicles because I wasn't sure whether the Skyline was going to be too long to actually line up with where the lifting points go to. So they sent it and we had it in about 6 to 7 weeks, which I had to go pick it up in Melbourne, and altogether for the actual product and the shipping, which we organised ourselves, was just over $1,500, and the extended ramps was another $200 with shipping. So pretty much we paid roughly about half of the cost of what a Quick Jacks, Max Jacks would cost here in Australia. So again, why would you want to go to one of these lifts? To me, the main advantage is, like I said before, you can pack it away. And the other one too is it takes less space. And 3, also it's better for low profile cars. So if you ever used a 2-post hoist, you'll know that the arm is about this thick and the pad can't really go much lower than that because you're sacrificing structural integrity. So any car that's pretty much less than 100mm clearance on their seals from the ground, you really struggle to get the arm of the hoist under it. And then you find yourself having to drive up onto blocks of wood or jacking the car up to actually fit the arms under the hoist. So with these Max Jacks, they actually collapse to about 70mm, and you can fit it under the frame rail of any lowered car quite easily, and there it saves a lot more time. If you got a low profile jack, sometimes even them fully collapsed, they're still too tall to actually get under the car, or you need to go this far under the car and it hits on the base of the hinge where it lifts. Then once you got it jacked up, you got to find actual points where you're going to set up the jack stands, and sometimes it's not exactly even, and you spend about 20 minutes maybe just jacking up and setting the jack stands under your car before you're going to work. So this, pretty much you just slide it under the car, you connect 2 hoses and you have a control, and you can lift it probably, now they've done it a few times, in under 5 to 10 minutes, and you can then go up and down depending on what you want to do for the job, rather than jacking it up, taking the stands out, back down, and so on and so forth. If you're doing a lot of suspension stuff where you're trying to like set coil over heights, it's very handy for that because you got to go up and down as well. The main downside compared to the 2-post is obviously you don't get the same height that the 2-post has. So this only lifts to, I think it was said 40 to 45 centimeters max height. It's definitely enough to get under there with a creeper and do your work, and it's a lot higher than jack stands. But it's going to be a bit of a struggle to try and do a transmission with one of these. So this is what the unit looks like. It is essentially an electric motor with a hydraulic pump with a valve body in the middle here for lifting the car. This here is the hydraulic tank. So this comes empty and you will need to fill it with some 46 weight hydraulic oil. The hoses don't come connected, but you just need to tighten them onto this fitting block. Some other key design points of it is it comes with a handle for moving it around, and it comes with these quick disconnect fittings for attaching both of the lines for the cylinders that lift the car. It also comes with this pendant here, which is on the cheaper side, but it's got an up and down function for lifting and lowering it, and it's got quite a long lead. It's probably 3 meters long, so far enough to be honest. On here, this is the valve that controls the lifting and lowering, and you've also got a manual valve here for lowering it back down or relieving the pressure manually if you require. One problem with ours when it came was it wouldn't lift, and I think it was because they've taken all of the hydraulic oil out of the system before they shipped it. We did message a seller and he told us to remove this plug here, and it was just stuck shut. So once we took that out and put it back in, then everything worked fine, no issues. Like I said before, they can also add the different style plug, this one being Australian style. And there's just some information on the electric motor and the wiring. So in my garage, I've got the 2 lifts set up on the wall here. And essentially what I did just to set it up was I put a eyelet in the middle of the stud here with some chain I just picked up from the hardware store, and then I've just got a carabiner on the other end which I clip it in. So this just stops it from falling down on the wall, and you can easily remove it by taking the carabiner off. They are quite heavy, so I wouldn't recommend hanging them from this point just because it could potentially damage your wall in the garage. This is what the lifting blocks look like. So these come with it, and they're probably 2 inches tall or probably 40 mil in height. The other end of the lift comes with a cap as well, and that's the male end of the fitting. As you just saw setting them up, there are some wheels on the bottom there to move it around because they are quite heavy. And on the bottom side there's another set of caster wheels there to roll it under the car. And those are those 3 wheels down the bottom as well. Down this end there's 2 spots here where you can put these lifting pads, as you can see. And as you can see, it doesn't really add that much more height to the overall tire lifting of it. So you have those 2 points here where you can put the rubber jacking point, and on this side it's a bit more open. You have a bit more flexibility on how you want to position that pad for lifting. Then in the middle you've got the main lifting cylinder with the hose that comes off with that quick disconnect fitting that I showed you. And this arm on the side here, the lock for the lift. And it's got 2 settings where you can lift. This is the first one, which is a lower setting. And then just below the hinge, you've got another one for the high setting. As you can see under my low skyline, there's actually plenty of room to slide the thing under fully collapsed. And there's that jacking pad, which I've just got lined up with the jacking point here. And you've still got probably 2-finger gap of extra height there as well. And then with this you can just slide that pad forwards or backwards, or move the whole thing forwards and backwards. And the actual height of it fully collapsed is probably around 85 millimeters. Total length from end to end is 1.75 meters. The maximum width for the jacking points is 1.44 meters, and the minimum width is about 84 centimeters. So the next part of the process is to get one of the hoses from the unit, doesn't matter which one, and you're going to connect the female end to the male end of the jack. Then once you got both of your 2 lines connected to either side of the car, then make sure you turn the power on and we can start lifting. One thing you need to note is that you're probably going to have your car quite far forward, because as it lifts it's actually going to go back. So make sure that you have probably at least a foot gap at the back. As that car raises, it's going to come back like that so it doesn't hit your garage door. So we start lifting. As you can see, it's just gone over that first stop there. So this is the lowest locking point. It's about 33 centimeters. Now you can see at the front there we've got a much larger gap, and at the back we've lost quite a bit of gap as well. These arms need to be on the outside, and as you can see here, this egg-shaped attachment on the back, when it's in the down position it allows it to glide over these 2 stops, and when it's up you can see that it will get caught on that stop like that. So now we've gone over, we need to lower it back down so it gets locked on that stop and it's safe to actually go under. And with the pendant fully extended I can go almost to the back of the car here. So we go down, and now that's sitting on that stop. And that is a lifting height of 45 centimeters from the ground. As you can see, there's plenty of room to get under the car now to do any such work. The only downside to these now is you can't go in the side of the vehicle. So you'll have to climb under the front, or sometimes I just take the wheel off so I can get under the car a lot easier. Another annoying thing worth mentioning is that if you do leave these hoses connected on the ground, you find yourself stepping and walking over them all the time. Once you've lowered it onto the stops and you've relieved all the pressure at the line, you can disconnect these, because the fitting on the quick disconnect will stop any oil actually coming back, and you've already relieved the pressure from it sitting on the stops. This is just a generic jack stand, for example, just showing you the height difference. So this is a fully extended jack stand, and it's still probably 2 to 3 inches shorter than what the Luxmain lift can do. So this one's just like a standard low profile lift. and at its lowest point, it's still over 100 mil in height, so it is much taller. And then also you have this part here, which if you don't have enough depth here, this ends up hitting on the side of your car. So that only extends about 20 mil before it starts to incline. And the max lifting height on this jack is 500 mil, which is 50 mil higher than the Luxmain lift. One of the negatives on these are that when you do disconnect this quick connect coupling, you lose a bit of oil. So make sure that you're doing it on a surface like this, which is epoxied, not on carpet or bare concrete, because you will lose a little bit of oil each time you disconnect that. And you need to ensure that the pressure is fully relieved off that cylinder, otherwise it'll be very difficult to reconnect the coupler after. Overall, in conclusion, my thoughts on the lift are that I think they work very well, and for me it's improved my productivity and also the functionality of working on cars. Having all that extra room under the car to move around has just been great. I did the headers on this car, and having all that extra room to reach in there, get tools for leverage, was absolutely amazing. And also it's just so much easier than putting a jack under one side than the other, and then the back, putting the jack stands, it saves so much more time, and it's just easier as well. And having the ability to go up and down very quickly if you need to go and do, say, alignments or a suspension setting for torquing bolts, it's very easy. Is it worth the $1,500? I think for me it's probably worth it. If you have the space, you can pick up a $1,500 two-post lift off Marketplace and install that. If you want something that's pretty much plug and play and doesn't take up much space and is easy to use, then this is probably the one for you. But if you are on a budget, it's still a big jump in price point from buying, say, a $200 jack and $100 worth of stands to go from $300 to $1,500 worth of investment. If you're doing a lot of work on cars, then it makes sense, and this is something you're going to keep in the long term, just like you would with a jack and stands. They don't go out of date, they don't become obsolete. It's pretty much, the technology has been around for a long time now. I would say I haven't seen the Max Jacks, but the fit and finish of the Luxmain ones, they're not amazing. Some of the welds on there don't look beautiful, and you can see they're being ground down, but the powder coat finish on them is quite durable. I don't have any problems. Another negative is that they are very heavy. Don't expect this to be light. I would say each one of those sides, from memory, somewhere between 30 to 40 kilos. And even for me, it's quite difficult to be able to lift even just one side of those. So if you are a smaller person in build, that you are gonna struggle most likely to lift and put down these. Or if you have a bad back, this is definitely not something that you should be investing in, because this is not going to make that any better. So in conclusion, I would recommend this. I can't tell you where you can buy them in Australia because there's no distributors here or worldwide, but if you are looking for them, they are available. I think I've seen them possibly on AliExpress or Alibaba where you can buy them. They are going to be more expensive than what I paid, seeming as I went directly to the manufacturer and imported it myself. Okay, if you liked this video and you thought it was informative, then put a like down below, and I'll see you for the next video. If you have any questions, drop them down below. Thanks for watching.